वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गणपतये नमो नमः, श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः, अष्टविनायक नमो नमः, गणपति बप्पा मोरया, मंगल मूर्ति मोरया। ओम गणपतये नमो नमः, श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः, अष्टविनायक नमो नमः, गणपति बप्पा मोरया, मंगल मूर्ति मोरया। ओम गणपतये नमो नमः, श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः, अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः, गणपति बप्पा मोरया, मंगल मूर्ति मोरया। ओम गणपतये नमो नमः, श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः, अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः, गणपति बप्पा मोरया, मंगल मूर्ति मोरया। करता दुख हरता वार्ता विघ्नाची, दुर्वी पूर्वी प्रेम कृपा जयाची, सर्वांगी सुंदर उटी शेंदुराची, कंठी झळके माळ मुक्ता फळांची। जय देव जय देव जय देव जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ती, दर्शन मात्रे मान कामना पूर्ती। जय देव जय देव जय देव जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ती, दर्शन मात्रे मान कामना पूर्ती। जय देव जय देव। रत्न खचित फरा दुज गौरी कुमरा, चंदनाची उठी कुमकुम केशरा, हिरे जडित मुकुट शोभा तो बरा, ऋण सुरती नूपुरे चरणी घागरिया। जय देव जय देव जय देव जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति, दर्शन मात्रे मान कामना पूर्ति। जय देव जय देव जय देव जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति, दर्शन मात्रे मान कामना पूर्ति। जय देव जय देव।
Thank you all for joining this wonderful session. Good evening, good afternoon, once again, all of you. My deep regards to all the speakers, the co-chair, as well as the keynote speaker, Professor Shivi Sharma sir. Sir, namaskar. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. I request my technical team to make the speakers as well as keynote speakers their mic at least in unmute condition. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Namaskar,
you. Thank
sir.
you. Namaskar. Namaskar. And welcome to all. Thank you.
Thank you
very much for organizing and inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. And friends, this is episode 2. Episode 2 of National Education Policy, which will be discussing on revisiting issues in schooling post-national NEP 2020. Friends, the new education policy is on the table. It has taken its own time for deliberations, discussions, meetings, conferences, opinions, viewpoints, perceptions. A lot of things has happened all over. Even today, we are here also to discuss what exactly and how the implementation can take place. Let us acknowledge that a policy of such nature in a country with a diverse interest, diverse culture, diverse languages, and diverse thought, architectures cannot really meet the personal and social interest of all individuals and communities. Somewhere it has to strike a balance. Somewhere it has to define its pragmatic existence, and somewhere should become administratively feasible. I think the policy has done enough. I think Professor Sharma also will agree that it has done enough. It is time to move on. It has done enough. It has many things into it. But now the time has come that we should move on. It is India-centric. I believe I'll speak few things which speaks about the policy before I introduce my guest and start up the session. It is a 5-day session. These 5 days we have fantastic deliberation from 25 plus 5 co-chair speakers. That means 30 speakers are going to speak on. And believe me, educators, it is going to help you to implement those things in your school. So try to be very, very particular in listening all the things and note down all those things, I believe. This policy, it is an India-centric. The policy made its focus very clear, being India-centric. If one had been working, since long, you might have gone through 1986, 2005 NCF also, they will understand the focus on globalization. I think the context demands by repositioning, and rightly so, with India trying to seek its place and status. Feeling that we have focused on early childhood care education, we have focused on the multilingualism, we have focused on the reforms in the curriculum, we have focused on the improving the quality of government schools, quality of schools. We are mainly focus is teacher empowerment. Critical to successful implementation of the vision of national education policy is teacher empowerment, I believe. I think everyone all will agree. The NEP in its draft has also acknowledged without reservation all these things that we are going to focus on national education policy. Friends, today's session will have regulatory on governance mechanism. This will have, every day we have very specific a theme, and on the basis of that theme, we'll have 5 sub-themes. Lot of discussions are going to happen. I'll request all the speakers to put all their points very specifically so that it can be, very clearly understood and it can be implemented further in the schools or by the school leaders. Today we have discussions, we have 5-point discussions, and with gratitude, with deep regards, I would like to introduce the keynote speaker of the day, who will be listening, who will be guiding, who will be judging, and finally giving his view, Professor C.V. Sharma. Professor C.V. Sharma, former chairman of NIOS, the director of Center for Education Development Foundation, the advisory council is headed by him, and I believe he has a lot of work being done in his past and also it is doing in the present. I am so thankful that such a person who is in policy, such a person who really guides school educators as a whole since long. Even though when he was in NIOS, I have heard speaking about, peeping for the school leaders, for the school teachers only. A true educationist on behalf. With regards, I welcome Professor C.V. Sharma sir to the session, and my sincere gratitude on behalf of my entire team that he has accepted to be with us for the entire 5 days, which is starting from today, 25th of May till 29th of May. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And let me introduce the co-chair, Professor Amrut Kumar from Central University of Kerala. He has an experience, a vast experience. I think his experience also is going to highlight, going to help all the educators to understand what exactly today we have thought of when we talk about regulatory and governance mechanism. I think after each speaker, I will request the co-chair, Professor Amrut Kumarji, that after each speaker, once they speak out, so certainly your view will give an add up to the topic of discussion. So on behalf of my entire team, Amrut sir, thank you very much for giving your consent to be with us. Namaskar, sir. Dear friends, it is a privilege to welcome all the today's speakers who will be delivering their talk today on 5 different very specific topics today has been discussed. Today we have taken up. First of all, Dr. Preeti Ojha. Dr. Preeti Ojha, Principal, Delhi International School, Dwarka, New Delhi. Ma'am, warm welcome to you. We will be talking about the public-private partnership in schooling, making philanthropy work, how public-private partnership in schooling happens. I think everyone will be eager to know about it. So warm welcome to you, Dr. Preeti Ojha. Namaskar, ma'am. We have today Madam Rabia Bhatia. Madam Rabia Bhatia will be speaking on how to make school complexes and cluster work. We have hubs of learning in CBSE. We have, a lot of activities. We do it in between us. So Mr. Rabia Bhatia, the founder at West Studio Channel, Edupreneur and multi-awardee Edu-leader, will be speaking how to make school complexes and cluster work. Thank you very much, Rabia ma'am, for joining. Namaskar. The third speaker of the day is making schooling inclusive, both public and private. We have Mr. Jitesh Khanna, the founder and CEO from Sai Prastha Promoters Private Limited, who will be speaking about making school inclusive, both public and private. Sir, with deep regards, welcome you. Namaskar. The fourth speaker, I could not see Jitesh Khanna, sir. He is available, of course. Sir, are you there? Okay, he will be joining. I'll be connecting with him. The fourth speaker of the day will be speaking about promoting education of arts, sports, and other activities. That is, everyone knows that how these are important now. The policy incorporated those things. So Madam Aparna Magi, the principal from Brahmagya Group of Schools, will be talking on this. Ma'am, thank you very much for joining. Good evening. Namaskar. And finally, the fifth speaker, Mr. Pramod Mahajan, Principal, Sharjah Indian School, Sharjah, from UAE. Sir, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Good evening. Great. Sir will be speaking suggestions for SSSA and need for National School Regulatory Authority, School Education Commission. And I think each one of us will be eager to listen from everyone. So the flow goes as such. I will request, first of all, Professor Shivi Sharma to give the keynote address for entire program, how this will be carried on and what is going to be the learning outcome of this 5-day session. I'd like to request Professor Sharma sir to speak on, and after that every speaker will get 8 to 10 minutes time exactly, and in that stipulated time you have to put up your views, and after that I'll request our co-chair Professor Amrut Kumarji to speak after once one speaker completes and give a final verdict or final view, so that there should not be any confusion in the mind of educators, school leaders, those who have joined here. More will be joining. We have connected almost 10,000 school leaders in the Facebook. There are 2 IDs we are connected. The entire school educators have joined through that. I have requested that educators should join very less in this because there may be some disturbance or disconnection problem. So I have asked them to view through Facebook. So friends, let me, with deep regards, gratitude, request Professor Sharma to, sir, please highlight us how we are going with these 5 days, what are the learning outcomes, and how do you vision this national education policy, and how we all school leaders going to implement that in our schools. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Priyadarshi ji. Namaskar. A good day to all, because there are participants from all parts of the world. So good day to everyone. Thank you very much, Priyadarshi ji, for again giving me this opportunity. I feel elated. I am humbled. And also congratulate you and the Global Talk Education Foundation and the Center for Education Development for identifying the theme and organizing it systematically with the school leaders. Why do we have policies? I'm sure you have selected 5 very pertinent themes for 5 days. And I can see my very learned colleagues, Amrut, Abha, and others. I can't see Avdesh ji and Tania ma'am or Anshul ma'am. But I believe all the learned, they would co-chairs would be speaking on the themes of the day. But let me quickly mention, why do we have policies? Why every nation requires a policy, and why did India decided to have one? It is, if I can word it like that, a policy is a manipulative document. It manipulates nations. It manipulates families. It manipulates individuals. I think we are all pawns in the hands of the policies. How would we behave? How would we think 20 years down the line is decided by a policy today. So as you have repeated many times, this policy intends to develop, make a Bharat-centric India 2040. 2040 का जो भारत होगा, अगर आपने इस नीति को ठीक से पढ़ा है, अंतिम पंक्ति कहती है कि 2040 में हम दोबारा आके देखेंगे हमने क्या बदला. The intention of this policy is to change from India to Bharat-centric schools. Our greatest misfortune has been our children who pass out of schools believe India is not a great country. It had no contributions. We are not a civilization of great people which has contributed to the global knowledge economy or knowledge corpus. I'm sure the 5 themes that you have taken for 5 days: regulatory and governance mechanism, examination and assessment, role of languages in schools, reforms in teacher education, and making Bharat-centric education. We will all be discussing on different days, different themes, but the most important for today is regulatory and governance mechanism. How do we manage our schools? One thing is common, but what Priyadarshi ji also mentioned, this policy places the school leader, the principal, the teacher center stage. And that is very, very encouraging. The teachers were put on the margin as a ploy before independence during the British period. Because a country which wants and intends to be a great nation has to have teacher at the center stage. And systematically, teachers were marginalized in India. This policy intends to reinstate, and I won't take much time because I want to listen to Professor Amrut and other very eminent honorable principals, school leaders. And so I was hearing Preeti ma'am a few days back on the TV channel, and I sent her a message, a congratulatory message. She was the most precise and to the point of all the 5 panelists. And that proved she is an academic, and only academics can do it. I want to hear all the honorable school leaders, principals, and Amrut definitely. But the most important is regulatory mechanism. How do we change the regulatory mechanism of schooling? That we would like to hear. And one thing I would only mention and close for the moment is we have not asserted ourselves. Every professional, look at the war that the bureaucrats have waged after the Prime Minister mentioned in the Parliament on 20th of February that IAS is head of everything. They become head of fertilizer, they become head of industries, they become this and that. Look at the Twitter, look at the discussions, look at the debates amongst the bureaucrats. They are all up in arms against Narendra Modi. If anybody speaks against the teachers, the principals, the academics, we never react. This is time to react. We must assert ourselves. We are the creators of every individual. We sacrifice our lives. I've been mentioning my school teacher, my class teacher, sacrifices her children for others. She gives all her time to the children of others, leaving her child behind. Nobody acknowledges that. We must tell the society, we create you. You better acknowledge us. This will be my message. This policy has put teacher center stage. We should start telling the society and everyone, you are where you are because of us. If you don't acknowledge us, it is at your cost. If the nation doesn't acknowledge us, it's at the cost of the nation. And that is what has happened in India. This policy reinstates the teacher center stage. We should first understand this through our readings of the policy and assert our position in the society, tell everyone. ये भी हमारा एक काम है. समाज को समझाना, पढ़ाना, सिखाना भी मेरा काम है. तो पेरेंट्स टीचर एसोसिएशन जब होता है, जब मिलने आते हैं, उनको बताइए कि मैं आपको बताऊंगा. मैं हर बार जब टीवी चैनल पर आता हूं तो यही कहता हूं कि सुनिए, हर कोई हमको बता रहा है कि 12th का बोर्ड एग्जाम कैसे होगा और आपको कोई ट्रेनिंग नहीं है इसके लिए. हमने जो पढ़ा है, देखा है, सीखा है, तो हमारी कोई बात ही नहीं सुन रहा. डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर दिल्ली के आके कह देते हैं एक दिन कि आप मल्टीपल चॉइस ले लीजिए. दूसरे दिन आते हैं कहते हैं ओपन बुक ले लीजिए. तीसरे दिन आते हैं कि 20 पेपर का एग्जाम लेके 200 पेपर पर आप उसको जनरलाइज कर दीजिए. आपको ही सब पता है तो फिर मैं क्या बताऊं. ये बात हमेशा बोलिए. आप जानती हैं, आई वॉज रियली वेरी हैप्पी टू हियर प्रीति मैम टेल वेरी प्रिसाइजली. देखिए असेसमेंट ये है, ये होगा, ये हम जानते हैं और हम सबको हर जगह बोलना चाहिए. आज के लिए फिर से एक बार प्रियदर्शी जी आपका बहुत बहुत आभार, धन्यवाद कि आपने मुझे यह मौका दिया है. और आज हमको अमृत जी को भी सुनने का मौका लगेगा. आई डोंट नो वेदर हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू नो, ही इज कंसिडर्ड द ब्राइटेस्ट professor of education in India and definitely in the southern states. He is a leading figure. I know him. So again, congratulations for identifying, selecting and inviting him and giving us the opportunity to hear. Thank you very much, Priyadarshi ji, and thank you.
It is absolutely honor for the entire team, sir. We have like you and Amrut sir for these sessions. But आपने बहुत कुछ अच्छा चीज बताया सर हमारे टीचरों के लिए, स्कूल लीडर्स के लिए. जैसे कि यूनिवर्सिटी ग्रांट कमीशन होता है हायर एजुकेशन के लिए, क्यों नहीं स्कूल एजुकेशन के लिए स्कूल एजुकेशन कमीशन नहीं होता है. हमारे बात तब तक नहीं सुना जाएगा जब तक स्कूल एजुकेशन कमीशन एस्टैब्लिश नहीं होती है. आई थिंक दैट मे बी ए अर्ज, वही होना जरूरी है इस स्टेट में. एनीवे, विल कम टू ऑल दीज क्वेश्चंस, ऑल द पॉइंट्स. लेट मी नाउ रिक्वेस्ट, आज का जो टॉपिक, टुडेज टॉपिक, regulatory and governance mechanism. We want to understand, we want to know more about what exactly the discussion is going to happen. What is the school governance mechanism for the schools? I would request Amrit Kumar ji, jo today is co-chair from Central University of Kerala, to highlight what exactly, sir, we are going to discuss today. Can you please explain us the theme of the topic today? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Priyadarshi ji. Thank you, CB Sharma ji. Dear participants, in fact, it's a real honor for me to be part of this great program organized by Global Talk Education and Center for Education Development. In fact, CB Sharma ji is like my mentor. It's a great personality who has been, supporting me, guiding me, maybe for the last nearly more than 5 years, I believe. So it's a great honor for me to share a platform with him. And of course, while I was listening to the talk of Dr. Priyadarshi ji, it's in fact a kind of a spreading, energy. The energy that you that you shows has an effect of spreading across the people. Thank you so much for inviting me to this particular program. In fact, we are discussing about regulatory and governance mechanism. While talking about national education policy, regulatory and or a governance mechanism, national education policy, the new NEP, has a very, very clear plan about how the regulatory mechanism and governance mechanism at school level and higher education has to be implemented. In fact, the most important challenge that Indian education system face is the diversity that we have. This is at the same time a challenge and a asset, at the same time a liability, I would say. Because every classroom in our society, in Indian society, is a little universe, I would say. For example, even when we say that the states are being divided on the base of language and ethnicity, to a great extent ethnicity, mainly language, even within the same state, when you look at a single classroom, I would say that every classroom is a little universe. So in that way, when we are bringing in a policy that definitely looks at standardizing or maybe bringing in the similar kind of standard across the country is a real challenge, actually. And it is the diversity which is a real challenge for the Indian policymakers in the field of education. I really remember one beautiful story in Ramayana in which Rama and Lakshman were in search of Sita when she was abducted by Ravana to Sri Lanka. So in search of Sita, they reached a forest where an old lady was living in, whose name was Shabari. It's a myth, actually a myth in Kerala. Maybe Ramayanas are of several, more than 38 Ramayanas are there. In one Ramayana, which is called as Adhyatma Ramayana, in which this particular story is there. Shabari is living in this particular forest, and she came to know that Rama and Lakshmana are coming around. They are somewhere around. So she wanted to treat them, cater them. So she went around the whole forest, searched for the fruits, and then she bite almost all the fruit because she has to give it to the Rama and Lakshman. Rama is a god, and for whom she is waiting for a long period of time. She bite all the fruits, and then she selected only those fruits after biting. And if the fruit is sweet, she will put it into the basket. Otherwise, she will throw it away. So she got a collection of fruits which is already bitten by her, and then she was waiting with it for offering to Sri Rama. This shows the bhakti that she was manifesting to the goddess. And the beauty of this particular thing is that she has collected, she has wandered around and then tested and collected it for the person whom she adored to the greatest. Now let us look at another important myth, which is also from Ramayana, where in the battle with Ravana, Lakshmana was almost attacked by Indrajit, and he was fallen down, and then Jambavan, the Chiranjeevi of among the Vanaras, told that if you go to a particular hill and you bring the that tree which can give life for Lakshmana, which is known as not Mrityunjaya, that particular plant, I forgot the name of that particular plant. And Ramana was the Hanuman was deputed for collecting that particular plant. What happened when Hanuman reached this particular hill? He was absolutely confused. What shall I take? I do not know exactly which plant I should take. What he did instead is he picked the whole mountain and then fly to Sri Lanka. And then it was the duty of Jambava to select out of this particular numerous plants and then make a medicine out of it. So I would like to say that the policy making is actually should be something like what is being done by Shabari. Of course, I'm not belittling what Hanuman was doing. Actually, policy making is something like what Shabari was doing. A person or a team who is making a policy has to go around, bite the fruit, and collect those fruits only which are good for the nation. And only when we bring in those basket of fruits which are good for the nation, we would be able to satisfy the taste of the people who are living in our country. So governance is an important issue when we speak about the divergence of the taste of the people in our country. We know we are different in case of languages, we are different in case of ethnicity, we are different in case of regionalism, and different factors are there that divides us. But beyond all these divisions, the policy's challenge is to bring in something common that makes everybody appreciate. That's a real challenge of a national policy. And this challenge comes up when you wanted to standardize the people across the country into a single, kind of standard human being. So the major challenge is that given being the major challenge, I really realized that the issues selected by the organizers of this discussion, organizers of this program, like public-private partnership is a real policy challenge. It's a real challenge in terms of regulation and governance, because if you think that same regulatory policy can work for the private and public, there are issues in it. And then what should we try, whether one policy for the private and the other policy for the public? Say, for example, if the National Council for Teacher Education, say, for example, wanted Central University of Kerala, where I am working, to start a new BSc BA program or MSc BA program, something like that, they will say that you should submit the details like appointment of teachers, building, and all these kind of things in 6 months' time. And the government system, we are unable to do that. Appointment of teachers, it's not possible at all. Building, no. CPWD and all this kind of procedure, impossible for nearly 1.5 or 2 years. But in case of a private institution, they would be able to make the appointment. They will be at least able to start the construction of the building. So whether the same regulatory mechanism can function for the private and public is a real challenge. And I'm sure that Dr. Preeti Oja is here. She will be addressing the real issue. And of course, another important thing is that school complexes and school clusters, which has even been mentioned by Kothari Commission, and even before that, how to make it is in fact a crux, is in fact remaining as a puzzle for Indian education system. Say, for example, people starts colleges and schools in different managements. When you wanted to bring all these managements into a single school complex, there starts the issue of sharing of power, appointment of people, and complex of issues. And then promoting subjects like education, arts, and all these kind of things in a highly industrialized society is, of course, another important challenge. And of course, the suggestions for SSSA and the need for National School Regulatory Authority, a dream project of our CB Sharma Sarji. He was really planning for this particular thing for the last few years, and he's sharing his ideas with us. I would say that this is one of the most important urgent need for the Indian school education system. I would say that all the topics selected are critically important, and I'm just eagerly waiting for the presenters to present those, and I would say that it's a real privilege for me to talk after the presentation. Maybe I'll take only 1 or 2 minutes, but that's a real privilege. Thank you so much, Priyadarshi ji.
Thank you, Amrit sir. It was wonderful to hear you, and thank you very much for your absolute input. We all were very clear now that what exactly the regulatory and governance mechanism for schools need to be spoken by each one of us. Thank you very much, sir. And I'll come back to you after each and every speaker. Let me now welcome the first speaker of the day, who will be speaking on public-private partnership in schooling. Dr. Preeti Oja, Principal, Delhi International School, Dwarka, New Delhi. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. And my energy has been boosted to the highest when I was appreciated by Professor CB Sharma, sir. Thank you so much, sir, because this is the kind of mutual support and admiration that we need to have, that voice that you're talking about, sir. The voice among each one of us can only be loud when we all support and bring together the unity to go ahead. So next time, if I'm called again, my voice would be stronger, more confident, and more assured that I have been supported by leaders like you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. With this, I would like to start with this very dynamic topic in itself, private-public partnership. To be very frank, when I was reading the entire NEP, I was understanding and trying to every time avoid this part of the entire book because it was confusing to me at various levels. And to be very frank and honest, I called up many people yesterday and I asked them, what do you think the future of it? And it was not very encouraging. In fact, it was more to do with how to do. Can you please think around it? Because somebody has to take care of the finances, someone has to take care of the administration, the share of infrastructure and various other aspects are supposed to be taken very minutely, as rightly told by Professor Amrut, that it cannot be uniform for all the cities and states. With this, I would like to say that free and compulsory education for children, this is not simply the result of the 2010 legislation. Article of the 45 Constitution of India required that the state shall endeavor to provide for free and compulsory education for all the children until they complete the age of 14 years. But it was not until Article 21A of the Constitution was added by the Constitution 86 Amendment Act in 2002 that the state was required to provide free and compulsory education to all the children of the age of 6 to 14 years in such a manner as the state may by law determine. It took more than 6 decades until this amendment made elementary education a fundamental right, resulting in what is popularly known as the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education RTE Act. It promised them child-friendly, non-threatening, non-discriminating environment where they could develop academically, emotionally, and socially. How do we do that? The collaboration between public and private sectors with a focus on system efficiency, innovation, and accountability. I would like you all to please look into these three important aspects which may differ from each school. Even the public school have the differences in efficiency, innovation, and accountability. Here we're talking about government, private, and public. In education, they bring together the scale of the government system with the innovation of the private sector to improve the quality of the system as a whole. This is what I could understand with the NEP 2020 document. This takes a midway of the public-private partnership program of the Ministry of Human Resource Development, HRD, called Rashtriya Adarsh Vidyalay, committed to establish 2,500 model schools. The Triple P model recognizes the need to explore diverse ways to providing schooling on the scale required to meet the educational needs of the population, approximately 450 million students. The three primary reasons that I see why this governance body is making Triple P as a model: to increase access to school, using underutilized school infrastructure, improving the quality of education. What are the unique characteristics of education Triple P in schooling which it can bring? I always try to look into the most positive aspect of anything which is supposed to be implemented for the good of the children. And when I saw this, I found that the focus on providing services to the poor without the opportunity to cross subsidize. That's the first thing that came to my mind. No potential to earn revenues or return on investment, as schools can charge fees only in certain circumstances, which I feel, and this is what my assumption to the entire characteristic and unique approach it can be. Complex monitoring structures with results that may take time to appear, like improved learning outcomes, high operating and maintenance costs in relation to capital expenditure as a large part of education cost and teachers' salary, which we should not forget at all. Creating models of excellence, addressing residual gaps in access, especially in secondary education, triggering competition between different public and private providers. To be very frank, from the year 2007 itself, My major focus, and I'm known in the education industry for various attributes that I have been able to contribute, but the biggest has been the collaboration. Collaboration is something that I understand. The real fact is the parameter of exchange should be equal. Please try to understand each one of us as a leader that I wouldn't be always a benefiting body in collaboration. It has to be benefited to each other equally. We need to really look into what this equality of collaboration would come up with. For example, we started collaborating with schools outside India. That was the first step that I took from 2007 till 2013 with one school specifically in UK, Rookery. And I could see that the teachers there is the biggest resource that can be collaborated with. I approached for the UK fund. I made sure that 8 teachers can move from this school to that school, try and understand what exactly the culture of teaching and learning and pedagogy can be. This entire process was mutually benefited because they send us 8 teachers in different gaps and intervals. Now, when I send them a teacher, I make sure that is the teacher as per the need of the collaborative school. That is the most essential part. You need to understand strengths that we need to share. We cannot have strengths shared with weaknesses. We need to make sure how the weakness can be overcome with the strength of each school. And one school I would like to name in Ghana, that was the Learning Field School. Mr. David Baroque is the one who I am collaborating with. And the first time we collaborated, the entire lab of computer science was trying to share different kinds of pictures and emails, and the children were just looking at us through the Skype. And when I questioned them that what exactly are children doing, are they able to access what our children are sending them, they said, sorry, we have one system in the entire school. But yes, we want to benefit with the excitement and aspiration of our children because that's going to give a hope to my children. Can you imagine the kind of a collaboration and the freedom of 2 leaders to get connected was? I could realize that day that it is not the infrastructure to be utilized. It is not that the color and the building structure would make a lot of difference. It is the content and the way the children interact would be actually benefiting each other. But before the children interact, what about teachers? Teachers' continuous professional development is extremely important for me to have that sharing of resources. My major resource is the teacher content and pedagogy and curriculum and the assessment pattern. Because if this is strengthened in 2 schools when they're collaborating, I think that can bring a lot of difference in various aspects. But if there is a delay in documentation, as rightly told before me as the speaker, if there is a delay in finances, if there is a delay in approaching those aspects that we are planning, and it is happening in a very accelerated manner in one organization and it's not happening in the other, the enthusiasm, not only of the children, but the teachers will also reduce. It's a plan which has to have a policy because we have to see the diverse community that we are working in, but we have to make sure that the resistance of various aspects should not be very high in the governing body. It cannot be something too much of documentation. It cannot be all the time that every responsibilities of the private school. It cannot be that it should have a control period of 12 to 10 months. If you read the HRD guidelines, it has some specific information for you to get into this triple P model. And this triple P model will let you know the model looks beautiful. For example, 7.10 to enhance cooperation and positive synergy among schools, including between public and private. The tuning and pairing of one school private with one school public is a beautiful dream come true association and collaboration. It will have to meet and interact with others. It will help you to learn and share your resources. It will also give you best practices of private schools to be documented, shared, and institutionalized in public schools and vice versa. This is extremely beautiful. But if there is a lot of delay in any of the process, the energy, the synergy that the group and the educational institution keeps intact among the children to keep moving ahead will be a delay. And let me tell you, it's not only the decision of the leader of the school here. Here, the finances will be also taken care by the owners. And the owners have to make sure, are they ready for this kind of philanthropic approach towards private and public partnership. Because when you read the guidelines, they don't end. There are so many restrictions in the guidelines that need to be tweeted with the association of one school with another school and given a freedom. Which one would you like to go ahead and which one would you not like to? But it cannot be given as a restriction that you have to follow the Kendra Vidyalaya Sangathan policies of recruitment of teachers. That's not the way that we can work at the moment. But when the current regulatory regime also has not been able to change the mindset of the parents by many for-profit private schools. Yet at the same time, it has all too often unintentionally discouraged public spirited private philanthropic schools. Let me tell you, it has. There has been far too much asymmetry between the regulatory approach to public and private schools, even though the goal of both the schools is the same: quality education, National Education Policy 2020. The public education is the foundation of a vibrant, democratic society. Most of my schoolings have been in Kendra Vidyalaya. I have been posted with my father from one school to another, and I've seen the diverse and the most beautiful teachers and the infrastructure. But it differed from city to city. When we were in Hashimara, the school was absolutely different. When we were in Delhi, the school was absolutely different. So it differs with that diversity also. And I think that has to be transformed and strengthened in order to achieve the highest level of educational outcome for nation. At the same time, the private philanthropic school sector must also be encouraged and enabled to play a significant role and a beneficial role. It cannot be told this is what you have to do under these rules and regulations. The freedom, the minute it goes away, the collaboration word dilutes. This is how I can put it further. And if you go, an effective quality cell. That's the last point. I think I've finished my 8 minutes, and that was an alarm. So I'll just finish with my last point. An effective quality self-regulation or accreditation system will be instituted for all stages of education, including preschool education, private, public, and philanthropic, to ensure compliance with essential quality standards. I want you all to please understand that a body would be established called State School Standards Authority, which will establish a minimal set of standards based on basic parameters. And I'll let you know the basic parameters, because this will be something that will allow you to think of the PPP model, that is safety, security, basic infrastructure, number of teachers across subjects and grades, financial probability, and sound process of governance, which shall be followed by schools. The framework for these parameters will be created by the SCERT in consultation with the various stakeholders, especially teachers in school. All that I have just now spoken to you has been shared from the documents written by Dr. Ashok Pandey, and also from Fikir Rai's website, and from the NEP 2020 document. Thank you so much. With this, I close with whatever I could understand with the minimum. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Your input is fantastic. I'll straight away go to Amrut sir to give a closing remark to this particular topic. I once again thank Priti Oja ma'am for your wonderful presentation.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, it's a wonderful presentation. As she said, the 2010 policy change, means constitutional change, was in fact a continuation of the 2002 Act, which is supposed to give another important bill to be passed in the Parliament. So we have to wait for a long time to get it passed. So as Madam said, I was really wondering, usually when they talk about private-public partnership, in pure economic terms, people will think about starting of a new initiative. Say, for example, private-public partnership can be used for starting new institutions. But Madam here was stressing upon how this private-public partnership can be used for the existing institutions to make use of resources. And even when talking about resources also, she was emphasizing upon not the infrastructural, the emphasis was not much on the infrastructural, but the social and academic interactions and networking between and among the institutions. That was really amazing. That's kind of a different perspective which needs to be probed much into and explored much into. Good presentation, Priti Madam. I congratulate you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Great,
Thank
great,
you.
lovely. Thank you very much, sir. This is for your the first topic. We come to a conclusion. We will come to the next topic. I would like to invite Rabia Bhatia ma'am. I think madam is there. Yes. Ma'am, your topic. How to make school complexes or cluster work. In CBSE, in other boards, we have lot of clusters. Even though Sahodaya schools work, even though a lot of activities of CBSE, we used to have it. So over to you for how to make school complexes work on this regulatory and governance mechanism. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Nayak and SEDEX and the Global Talk Education Forum to invite me on this prestigious forum to talk and share my views among so many senior leaders. You know, sir, I was like very, very happy when I was selected as a speaker amongst Dr. Preeti Ojha, and I would be sharing my thought in front of Dr. C.B. Sharma and eminent principals like Pramod Mahajan, sir. And it was like my dream has come true, actually. But yes, having said that, to be honest, I mean, I have read the NEP 2020, and I was very, very happy when it came into picture, and I was like satisfied that at least I have studied, my kids have studied, but now rest of the students will get help and support, and also the benefit from this NEP 2020, because it talks about not talk about the degrees or the marks, but it talks about the practical knowledge and real life experiences. And when you shared the NEP 2020 material to talk about this particular topic, efficient resourcing and effective governance through school complexes, like you already said that we have the clusters like CBSE Bharat Sahodaya, we have clusters like KV schools also, and many other schools are running under complex and clusters. But I would like to share a few what the problems we have been facing since so many years and the solutions we are coming up. So allow me to do so. There is no such presentation, so I have made notes. I have just made notes, so I'll be sharing the same pointers with all of you. But please forgive me if I talk something separate, or if I'm not able to come up to your expectations. I am sure the senior leaders will support me still. So thank you so much once again. And with respect to according to UDICE 2016-17 data, nearly 28% of India's public primary schools and 14.8% of India's upper primary schools have less than 30 students. The average number of students per grade in the elementary schooling system, primary and upper primary, that is grades 1 to 8, is about 14, with a notable proportion having below 6 during the year 2016-17. And there were 108,017 single teacher schools. The major of them, 85,743, being primary schools serving grades 1 to 5. Second was the teachers often teach multiple grades at a time. So this is the one major problem in our schools, where the teachers have been taking care of the multiple grades at a time, teach multiple subjects, including subjects in which they may have no prior background, like key areas such as music, arts, and sports. They're too often simply not taught, and physical resources such as lab, sports equipment, and library books are simply not available across schools. Third problem, the isolation of small schools also has a negative effect on education and the teaching learning process. Small schools also present a systematic challenge for governance and management. We all see, I mean, now because of this lockdown or pandemic, many schools have shut down, which were like privately opened, called private daycare schools, private schools. In this, people have opened the schools in their own homes, actually, calling as a primary school or a daycare. But they did not have any proper governance. They did not have any proper teaching material, and there was no such kind of, CBSE or ICC or IB based curriculum. There was no pedagogy they were applying. So how were they actually helping the students to grow and helping them in learning the things which were important in their early years stage? The geographical dispersion, challenging access conditions, and the very large number of schools make it difficult to reach all schools equally, because they have been opened in small areas, and that was the reason the government was not able to reach out to them. There was no proper learning material that was able to reach out to them. Although the consolidation of schools is an option that is often discussed, it must be carried out very judicially and only when it is ensured that there is no impact on the access system. The access has to be given. We know the NGOs have been opened, but not all the NGOs have the access. Not all the government schools have the access towards online learning. Look into the kind of today's situation even. The government schools, the NGOs, they have been opened in such slum areas, but because of the lockdown and the pandemic situation, the students were away from the online learning, digital learning. So we need to find out the solutions for these as well. These challenges will, by 2025, be addressed by state or UT governments by adopting innovative mechanisms to group or rationalize schools. While the establishment of primary schools in every habitation across the country, driven by the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and other important efforts across the states, has helped to ensure near universal access to primary schools. It has also led to the development of numerous very small schools. So, coming up to the solutions of the same, what I have understood is one possible mechanism for accomplishing the above would be the establishment of a grouping structure called the school complex, consisting of one secondary school together with all other schools offering lower grades in its neighborhood, including Anganwadis, in a radius of 5 to 10 kilometers. Building such larger communities of schools, school leaders, teachers, students, staff, supporting staff, parents, and local citizens would energize and empower the schooling system and in a resource efficient manner. The governance of schools will also improve and become far more efficient with school complexes and clusters. The culture of working to a plan, both short-term and long-term ones, will be developed through such complexes and clusters. Another solution, which I have understood, is to further enhance cooperation and positive energy among schools, including between private public schools. The twinning planning of one public school with one private school will be adopted across the country so that such paired schools may meet, interact, like Dr. Preeti already mentioned about this, with each other, learnings from each other, collaborative learning will be there, and also they will be able to share the resources whenever and wherever it would be possible. The next solution is every state will be encouraged to strengthen existing or establishing Bal Bhavans, where children of all ages can visit once a week, example on weekends, or more often, as a special daytime boarding school to partake in art-related, career-related, and play-related activities. Such Bal Bhavans may be incorporated as a part of school complexes, clusters, if possible and whenever possible, wherever possible, depending upon the areas. The next, and I'm sure it is the last solution from my side, almost the second last. The school should be a point of celebration and honor for the whole community. The dignity of the school as an institution should be restored, and important dates, such as the foundation day of the school, will be celebrated along with the community, and the list of important alumni may be displayed and honored. And the last solution, what I have come up with and understood, furthermore, the unutilized capacity of school infrastructure could be used to promote social, intellectual, and volunteer activities for the community and to promote social cohesion during non-teaching, schooling hours, and may be used as a Samajik Chetna Kendra. So that is all from my side, sir.
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you very much, Rubia ma'am. A lot of inputs were there into the topic which we were discussing about how to make the school complex. Lot more things. Every educator has their own ideas, and every school they work on this. And even every board, every group of schools, Kendriya Vidyalaya, they have a lot of things with related to the activities, with related to, someone was asking in the chat box, with related to some CCA activities. A lot of things are happening. But how this regulation and governance mechanism can happen or can be done in the small groups, whatever is happening. Let me take away straight away to Amrut sir to give a brief idea about it. Over to you, sir.
One can agree or disagree with Madam Rabia Bhatia, but nobody can say that I haven't understood that.
Yes.
Very clear. It was very clear. She was
Yes.
just presenting the issues and then solutions of her own. I would be very clear. And school complexes like lower group combining with neighboring schools, and then Bal Bhavans, school as center of celebration. All these are ideas which are being put forward. I think this needs to be further thought about. When schools are being combined together in different school clusters and complexes, the operational difficulties and operational problems has to be discussed in a more detailed manner, I believe, because when private and public combine together, the egos of the teachers and different issues of the teachers will come up. But definitely, if we decided to implement it, I think there is a way out. We have to work it out. Very clear. I appreciate that.
Very fantastic, Rubia ma'am. Well done. I think your presentation is very good, and a lot more things can be added to it. All educators can do it. Fine. Thank you very much. So let me now take the privilege to welcome the third speaker of the day. The third speaker will be talking about making schooling inclusive. Very important point. Mr. Jitesh Khanna, founder and CEO, Sai Prastham Promoters Private Limited, will be speaking on. Over to you, sir, for your presentation. Your time.
So good evening. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to give my sincere gratitude to the organizers for calling us here. I'm relatively new in the education field for the last 2-3 years, and I'm still learning, and this is a great opportunity for me to reach out to so many people on this wonderful platform and learn from so many people. In fact, what Rabia talked about, or Prityoja ma'am talked about, it was sort of a learning process for me because I could absorb so much from them. I now probably can give a viewpoint from an outsider's point of view, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who are there in this industry for a very long time. And I can probably, being an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, and the reason I got into education was not because a lot of people feel that education can be a great place to earn money. I feel it's a great place to create value. So how I see it is that in a society, we've had a lot of revolutions. We have industrial revolution, we've had green revolution in India, we've had white revolution in India, and the society has just been the same. So if you look back in the past, and if you look back in the present, and the best way to foresee the future is to go back again in the past and see the patterns, you'll realize that all these revolutions have not brought any great major change in the society. And I thoroughly believe that only with the education revolution, one can see a change in the very fabric of the society. And that is the reason I came here, because I wanted to give my point of view towards it. We all know that India is a diverse country, like one of the earlier speakers said, and that is a great boon for India. We are the youngest nation in the world. We have the largest amount of youth pool, and we also have a youth who's hungry for knowledge, hungry for to go out and do things. And how to make education inclusive. This is the topic that I'm going to talk about, and this is something I really thoroughly believe in. I believe that in a democracy, the most important thing has to be the democratization of education. So when I see education now, there are two sides to an education. There is this private sector education, where you have great setups, you have great infrastructures, very high fees. People are being exposed to a lot of foreign material and stuff. And then you have the rural area, the middle class, the lower middle class, where children go to normal schools. And with normal, I mean schools which are not huge, which don't have huge infrastructures, which are very basic. And rural areas where now, because of pandemic, the worst thing that has happened is that a lot of kids don't have an access to online education. So online education, I feel, is great boon. You know, education, like they say, is a passport to the future. Now, look, so imagine now we are 20 years, 30 years down in the future. Technology has grown. It has become more accessible, cheaper, and every kid has accessibility to technology and education. So that is what I foresee in the future, but that has to start from now. The future begins from now. So the way we can make education inclusive is to really adopt technology at a very fast pace. Now when I see people talking about, a lot of times when I go to events and I meet a lot of people boast about their education, what Ivy League education that they have got, or what wonderful schools they belong to. And I feel that is a lot of, I think there's a lot of a gap between the haves and the have not. So what if you see in India, the biggest problem is that we have children from SC, ST, who are there in the junior level, but as the level starts growing up, secondary level or higher education, you see lesser and lesser of them, especially from scheduled tribes, simply because a lot of them can't even relate to the education system. A lot of them cannot even don't even feel that they need to, because there is this whole thing about quickly earning money, and that's one of the reasons. Yeah, a lot of dropouts happen, and this simply happens because somewhere our education system has not been able to cater all the different sections of the society, and which is not easy. In a country like India, where we have hundreds of languages spoken, hundreds of different cultures, we can't have that. From an outsider's point of view, how I see education is that education does bring knowledge, but knowledge doesn't distill to wisdom. Until and unless there is a system where we can create an education which is very practical, very interactive, very easy. Now, a lot of people have been shifting to IB boards, and I've been asking them why they have been adopting IB boards instead of the other board. And the answer has been that the children have been learning faster. There is more exposure to better material and all that. And I feel that is very unfortunate, because in a country like India, where we have the greatest mind pool, if you check out any great software company or any great company in the world, Indians are running the show. We have the best software engineers, we have the best managers, we have the best, even in terms of latest technologies like crypto and drones and stuff. You will see Indians everywhere. There's a young boy from Noida who is creating, making one of the greatest crypto currency, events all over the world, and he's doing so much work in that. So we have so much of brain pool, but why can't we have a education system which is very child friendly? I know this, I should not bring this, but I have seen a lot of children have this fear of going to school. A lot of children avoid schools. Can't we have a system where we can design school in such a way that it becomes the most friendly place in the world? I can talk about 100 solutions, and I can talk about 100 problems that are there. The national education policy, I read word by word again and again just to understand things. And they're just words. And talk is cheap. What I really believe is that to make education inclusive, we have to rope in technology. We have to make technology cheaper. We have to make it extremely accessible to children. We have to change and overhaul the whole education system in India, not only for students, but teachers. In the pandemic, I've been seeing teachers having a lot of pressure on them, being at home, taking care of their homes, taking care of the classes, taking care of all the things that are happening. Once you're in the house, there's a lot of distractions. And then to take a class, prepare for the class beforehand, it's such a pain. I had a lot of interactions with teachers, just giving an ear and listening to them. I think the greatest thing one can do is listen and listen and listen, That's why probably we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I realized that the only thing that came out of it was they were highly stressed. They were continuously being watched by their seniors, and they had to perform in an environment they were never trained for. To be at home and to perform in front of the family and stuff and all the distraction. We need an overall education system where we can make it inclusive, not only for children or for different people from different demographics, but for the teachers too. Ultimately, it's a people-friendly system that we need to make. We need to make education more attractive. We need to make education far more, tech savvy. And when I say that, what I basically mean is that I now see, I'm a futurist. All my ventures, I always plan how 20 years, 30 years down the line tech is going to be. What can I implement today? So if we can have a system where we can really, really use technology, we can use, and more than technology, there's an element of spirituality that comes within education. Education is not there just to earn a living, but earning a living is extremely important. And when I talk to a lot of youngsters who pass out of 12 and I want to ask them what they want to do, what kind of a career they want to choose, they're blank. The Delhi government has been pretty active in that. They started the entrepreneurship programs and stuff. I think this has to be a national level thing. We need to teach children from a very young age that they need to go out and not earn, but add something to the society. The very definition of an entrepreneur is somebody who creates value, creates a solution for a problem, and creates a system where he can rope in other people, give them work, give them salary, and create this whole system, mini system. So I think we need to really, and in the future, we all know education is going to be the only way people will be able to take on the challenges. So I am very clear about one thing as a third person perspective. I probably have not even an iota of knowledge as you people have. And I probably would like to absorb as much as possible from you people. But speaking from an outsider's point of view, who's just recently forayed into education, and the reason I forayed into education is for something that I've learned all my life, the values that have been put inside me, that the very fabric of society starts with education, that education should reach out to each and every child, that education is not something to be shown off. When you go to parties and people talk about, oh, I belong to so-and-so university and so-and-so school. And I've been so many times asked, where are you from? And I always say I'm a very ordinary man and I'm proud of being ordinary, because ordinary people achieve great things. Somebody who's born with a silver spoon achieving great things will never be remembered. That is what we need to inculcate in our education system. To make it inclusive, we have to get rid of this status system in education. That we need to really, really understand education is the most wonderful thing next to spirituality. That every teacher is worthy of respect because of the efforts they put in to nurture these young shoots and these young lives. And that every teacher deserves to have the best quality of life, the best salary, and the best system where they can have quality time with their families too. There should be a system where education should be so scientifically planned by great minds. How to, now if you see I've been working with a lot of people in data sciences. Even before selling you a product outside, they understand your psychology deeply. They know that this man likes probably go camping and this man likes the outdoors. So the products that are sent to you are related to camping, related to outdoors. Your data is there. Why can't we have create a data pool of all the schools in India, understand what children really need and want, and what is the need of the hour, what is needed in the time, and the greatest minds could get together, collate the data. We can use AI. And I'll tell you very honestly, it is not expensive to use AI. AI, in fact, is progressing very fast. So if we can use AI to create systems of education which are easier, which can be quietly molded and cater according to the regions and situations. Like I gave an example of tribal people. I know a lot of people who start working in Delhi come from tribal societies, and they want to work. For them, earning money is extremely important. They don't want to wait a few years and get a degree and work. So if you can create a data pool, use the data, the big data, AI, and again I'm going back to technology, but don't, I don't want to fool myself by saying only technology helps. The revolution will start from our own heart. How do we see education? And do we just want this problem to remain the same? Do we really want the education system to remain the same, where some really privileged people get the best kind of education and probably they don't even use it all their lives? Or we want it to reach out to that young boy sitting in the house whose father cannot afford a tablet or a phone, and this poor chap is doing everything, probably borrowing notes or stuff from other people. I know a lot of great people in my family who studied under a street pole because they didn't have electricity in the house, ended up becoming the greatest people in India. I won't name them, but I personally know a few of them. I had the privilege and I had the honor to know them, and I had the good fortune to know them. And the only thing they would always say was that we had the hunger, but never had the means. If we can bridge the gap between the hunger and the means through whichever way, through using data, through using anything else, I think that would be the greatest way. I can come out with a lot of bookish solutions. I can say we can do this and we can do that, and we can rope in the CSR and we can do that. No money, no resources can change the society unless there is a deep change, inner change in the society. And I think the very inner changes to really, really remove this this huge gap, this dichotomy, this gap, of people having access to great education, Ivy Leagues, and youngsters who can't even afford a basic book. Once this gap
wonderful. I think Jitesh ji, you can conclude.
Thank you so much. I have pretty much said everything, and I'm sorry if I missed out on something, and if I didn't sound that polished.
It was wonderful. I think outstanding thoughts of yours, and rightly you said education should make person more human and social responsible. And with the integration of artificial intelligence into it, I think this inclusive education can work on very nicely. So I'll take up a feedback from Amrut Kumar sir. It was wonderful presentation, Jitesh sir, from your side.
Jitesh ji, it was exactly right. Google knows about me better than me, actually, and YouTube knows about me better than me. Even Facebook, WhatsApp, and then Amazon knows about me much better than me. So I'm in a hackable position, in fact. The point is that we have not entered into the mind of our children. We do not know the interest of our children, but Facebook knows, WhatsApp knows, Amazon knows, and even as margin-free market, supermarket, who collect the phone number at the time of billing, knows the interest of our children, interest of every human being, individual who is shopping in that market, but we have not ventured into that. Really very important point, and he was very innocently asking that very important question, like Toto Chan was asking, why education is not child-friendly? The question which was raised by Toto Chan, a famous Japanese writer, means Kutsiago Kurianogi. Natsiago Kurianogi is famous for Toto Chan, in which the Toto Chan asked to the teacher, whatever you are teaching is not understandable to me. Then why don't you teach in a way that is understandable to me? It's very simple question. This is the key question of the whole system of education that we are, problems of whole system of education that we are facing. I really appreciate, very articulative. I think we can move on to the next.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. It was wonderful, Jitesh ji. Take care of yourself. Let me come to the next speaker of the day, SEDEC speaker. Next speaker is Madam Aparna Maggie. Aparna Madam will be speaking more on promoting education of arts, sports, and other things. Generally, these are all twinning of schools, and through Bal Bhavans, a lot of things happens. So let me take the privilege to welcome Madam Aparna Maggie to speak on promoting educations on arts and sports. Over to you, ma'am. Aparna ma'am, are you there? She was there. What happened? We can come back after a minute. Maybe she might be having some issue. I'll connect him. So let me invite now Pramod Mahajan sir. Pramod Mahajan sir. Sir is there?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Let me take the privilege to welcome Pramod Mahajan sir. Pramod Mahajan is today's SEDEC speaker number 5, principal from Sharjah Indian School, Sharjah. He'll be speaking on the topic suggestions for SSA and need for National School Regulatory Authority and School Education Commission. As in the beginning also we were speaking on about it, there is a requirement of school regulatory body. So over to you, sir, for your views, inputs. If you want to have your screen to be shared, and I think we can allow you.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Please allow me to share the screen. First I'll speak something and then I'll share my screen.
Fine.
So good afternoon, good evening, namaste, namaskaram, salam alaikum. why this much words to be, addressed for greeting? From here, the regulation starts. From here, the governance starts. From here, the diversity and unity starts. So that's the need of the hour. You take the case of schooling, one single entity, Department of School Education, with variety of arms controlling all the things: safety, security, policy, monitoring, governing, paper setting, CPDs, curriculum framing, whatnot. Today's chief guest and the keynote speaker has very well said that from India to Bharat Kendrit, why not Vishwaguru Kendrit? Why not the global leader Kendrit? We, Jiteshji has told, name the company, and the Indians are running, and Indians are contributing for that. Yes, very well said, sir. But from India, if you have to go to abroad, a bridge course is required. For what? Why that bridging is required when we are ruling the different sort of countries? Why? Because we are not utilizing critically the available resources of ours. I was listening to Consulate General of India, who is in Dubai. He has given a very nice concept: Uberization of school infrastructure, school pedagogics, and school resources. Uberization. What is that? Utilization of the available resources. We are talking about governing and governance, and we are giving the example that this much money should be given for the education and all. Whatever money is being given, we cannot use even 1/3 of that. Why not? We are not using the money which has been with the fund which has been allotted to us. We are not critically utilizing the available resources of our schooling. School, big campus, 2 acre, 5 acre, 50 acre, whatnot. Number of working days, 200. Number of hours, 5 hours instructional hours, 1000 hours only throughout the 365 days. You multiply 365 days into 10 hours, 3650 hours. What we are doing? 1 hour. Here the importance of governance starts. Here the importance of that thought process starts, which Dr. Nayak used to say that yes, there is a need of national policy, there is a need of school commission. Why not? That commission will look into that. BO and DEOs, or we can say the state authorities, they have their, what we can say, conflict of interest. Maximum time they spend into what? This is not the matter of the center, and this is not the matter of that district. Why? That conflict should be overcome. Now come to the point. First, I have already explained you why it is required. Now let me share my screen, and then we'll come to that key. What is that suggestion we should give to SSSA, and what we should think about, how we should think about the regulatories and different concepts. Let us start with that. Is my screen visible to everyone? Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir. It is very much
Yeah.
visible.
So suggestion for SSA, National School Regulatories and Regulations. The first point which they have given, the universal access of education. Universal access, when we say, who will be doing that thing? Ministry of HRD, Women and Child Development, Health and Family Welfare, and the tribal affairs. Many things are involved. It is a well established fact that many cooks will spoil the food. So there should be a school commission who will look into that, each and everything, who will be taking care of all the aspects, taking the help, support, and critically utilizing the various aspects available with different ministries and different governance. Now, when we say that thing, Common standards for public and private school education. Common standard. First of all, what's the standard is? Standard is, if you are teaching mathematics, it should be same universally. If you are teaching science, it should be same universally. If you are teaching language, it should be same universally. In one state, A for apple, in another state, A for something, in third state, B for boy, in fourth state. Why? Why that? Why that integration is not there? For that, a perfect monitoring is required. And for that monitoring, a perfect governance is required. And for that governance, a perfect body is required. And none other than the School Education Commission. We are talking about public-private partnership where the public private partnership is required. National curriculum and pedagogical framework, here the participation is required. Each and every parent has to say that thing, I wanted to see this sort of change within my child. Ultimately, what is the aim of the education? To fulfill the need and requirement of the society. When the society is changing, when the needs are changing, when the world is changing, why not our thought process should change? So for that, that commission is must. Research and best practices. Who will take care of the research? Shall we keep the research limited up to the state? Shall we keep the research limited up to one city or one village or one school only? No, it should not have any limitation. It should not have any boundaries. And when we have to cross the boundaries, lot of monitoring and lot of governance is required. Take the another case. Developing curiosity, logical thinking, art and craft, relationship, color, shapes, alphabet, etiquettes, what not, play-based discovery. Every school, every state, every board is giving different sort of curriculum, different sort of syllabi. How will you achieve that aspect, that India will become Bharat Kendrit and Bharat will become global Kendrit and we will become Vishwa Guru? For that, a perfect and solid roadmap on which we have to run fast, taking care of need and requirement of the society, utilizing all our resources and fulfilling that governance which will take us to that level when everyone will say, yes, we are the Vishwa Guru. Revision of NCF for school education. Who will do that? Is the state allowed to do the revision of NCF? Is one particular board allowed to do that thing? Or is particular political thought process is allowed to do that thing? Not at all. Who will do that thing? Who will do that thing? SSSA, the State School Standard Authority. Standardization from local to global. Authority to monitor and to ensure the governance. That will make the school the hub of learning. This pandemic, now we are talking about public school and private school and we are talking about various boards. This pandemic has proved that everything was quarantined except learning. So pandemic has not made the differences between the public school and the private school. Why the policies are making differences? Why not on the same platform? But for that again, the requirement is SSSA has to come up with the solid monitoring system, solid governing system, and they have to treat each and everything with equality, with equilibrium, taking into consideration the one aim and objective, and that is the Bharat Kendrit Shiksha. Health checkup, reduce weight of the bag, mandatory skill, health and wellness, hiring counselor, focus on children, inclusive and caring schooling. Will it have the boundaries? Wellness, happiness, will it be limited up to one state only? The happiness, the country should be happy. And when will be the country happy? When each and every child will be happy. And when each and every child will be happy, when the family will be happy. And when the family will be happy only and only if the schooling system ensure the smiling dynamics on the faces of the students. And that is possible by the state school standardized authority with the support of the School National Commission. That is possible. Why IIMs, why IITs, why IAS are they are doing well? Because they have commissioned Why the army is united and disciplined and self-disciplined? Because they are commissioned. Their commissions have certain norms, certain governing rules, certain standard practices, and they are uniform. They are uniform. They are not distinguished between public and private and this and that. Nothing at all. Everyone is equal. One rule and one commission. Board exams, reformation. Now, tell me, now this 10th and 12th examination, one decision has been taken. Every state is giving different suggestions for the 12th standard. We will not do in that manner, we will do in that manner. All those things are happening. And because of that, what is happening in our nation? Defense minister is heading that committee who will decide about the 12th standard. And the education ministers are giving their suggestions. What we are thinking about education? What is that governance? That's why the National School Commission is required, and the head of that commission will talk about 12 standards should be done in that manner. And I will take care of each and every child, and I will ensure that no bridging is required, and the child who is passing out from the 12 standard throughout the world will be equally respected academically as well as behavior wise. Who will decide that thing? That commission, that commission head. Who will support to them? SSSA. But what is required is we have to come out of the comfort zone. We have to break all those boundaries. Breaking the boundaries for unlimited learning outcome is nothing but the school national commission or national school commission, whatever you say. Now, continuous tracking, board exam, assessment of focus, AI based software. My question is, artificial intelligence can do everything. But yes, at the same time, we have to take care of the multiple intelligence. We have to take care of the human power. We have to take care of the brain power. Whatever be the artificial intelligence is doing, it will be done by machines, and those machines will be invented by the brain, humanity, creativity, that thought process, risk-taking attitude. We have to ensure those techniques also. Explore the machine, but don't become machine. Explore the AI, but don't become addict of the technology. I am very techno savvy person, but I am not addict of technology. Very rightly, Professor Amrit has said that yes, Facebook is knowing better than me for myself. Why? Because we are not knowing ourselves. We are not integrating ourselves. In the same way, every education system is not integrating themselves. Why they are not integrating themselves? Because the uniformization is not there. That uniformity will come by the national school commissions. These are the various aspects: Bal Bhavan, Samaj Chetna Kendra, planning, efficiency. These are all parts of the NEPs. Why you are dividing into that? I have visited Finland. I was surprised. The school was starting from 6 a.m. in the morning till 10 p.m. in the night. Some time is given for the senior citizens. The grandparents are coming and talking about their grandchildren, planning for the next day what they should teach to their grandchildren. The parents are coming and they are thinking about what we should cook for my child, why he will be, healthy, wealthy, and he can play well. Evening hours, all the other private organization, NGOs are coming and they are playing, they are teaching the students various aspects, various techniques. See, they are the skilled people. They are the literate people. We have, ensured many degrees, but are we really literate? Culture-wise literate, skill-wise literate. We have to utilize those personalities, and that is possible when that National School Commission will come and they will utilize those skill literate people, culturally literate people, religiously literate people, spiritually literate people, and then we can develop an all-round personality. That is required, and that is the suggestion for SSSA. Standard setting. Standard setting, the standard should be uniform throughout the India, not only throughout the India, throughout the globe. And India should be a vital part of that standard setting. improvising the teacher education, global trends, what our B.Ed colleges are doing, what our D.Ed colleges are doing, no need of telling that thing. Global trends, we are far, far away from that. We are far, far away from that. We are depending on those people to train our teachers, and they are following our traditional system. They are throwing out all those techniques and technologies of theirs. They are exploring our traditional ways and making that our traditional things as a platform and jumping on that, utilizing AI, MI, and different techniques. And we are calling that wow factor. The wow factor is our platform. Wow factor is our traditional way of teaching. I am not saying you should go for chalk and board and all. No, not at all. AI should be used, MI should be used, our brain should be used. We should do critically, we should go out of the box. But don't forget our platform on which we can jump in such a manner that even sky will not be the limit. It will be a starting point only for us. Setting parak. My time is going up. That is again parak. Who will review the performance assessment and who will do the analysis and what basis of the knowledge which will develop the holistic development? That is that commission, that is that state school standard authority which will bridge the gap between the public and the private, and which will bring the education at the heart of everyone. Infrastructure, five-star buildings are not mean for education. AC and all are not mean for education. That is required to create some sort of learning atmosphere. But what sort of learning atmosphere? Learn from Super 30 from Bihar. From last 10 years, those 30 students are in first 100. How? Governance is there, monitoring is there, resources are there. Which resources? Traditional resources. Which technology? Technology of our brain. In what techniques and what trends they are following? The trend they are following, I have to ensure that my learning outcome should not be 99%, it should be 101%. That sort of commission is must. Inclusion already has been discussed. That is all from my side. So again, once again, to wrap up, my concept is state school standardized authority is must, and they should take care of local to global, Bharat Kendrit, Vishwa Guru Kendrit, and who will guide that path is the school national authority. And the day will come, an educationist who will be the chairperson of the National School Authority, National School Commission, will suggest to the Prime Minister, take the 12th standard in that manner. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. Wonderful, Pramod sir. It was something which you spoke, which was very, very required at this junction. And when we talk about, as in the beginning also I said, that an autonomous body by the name of School Education Commission need to be established through maybe an act of parliament or whatever the process it happens. This will have the same status for school education that generally the University Grant Commission is having for the higher education. And as you rightly said, yesterday we found in the TV screen, the Honorable Defense Minister used to declare something. Oh, no, it's something very precarious, as far as education or education is concerned, somebody deciding the board examination to happen, and that to other parliament, other cabinet ministers. Unfortunate. But anyway, this commission, once it comes, I think Professor Sharma and the entire team, they need to help the entire education, entire community that yes, this commission has to set up. I'll take up a quick feedback from Amrut sir. Sir, what a fantastic presentation by Pramod Mahajan. What do you need to add to it?
Exactly. I could see the waves of an ocean behind him actually as the background. It's fast and waves to all of us. The wave of ideas. Wonderful presentation, Pramodji. As you said, when there is a national goal, we need to regulate. And if you don't have any national goal, leave it to the individual. Let them do whatever they wish to do. But when we have a national goal, we have certain desirable goals for the society to make ourselves as the great, intellectual society. Of course, we need to regulate. We cannot allow, whims and fancies of the people working in the field of education. Very important that we need to think about national school regulatory authorities. Exactly, I agree with that point of view. I think Priyadarshi Nayak ji, what's our next procedure? Because one more has to present. Okay, yeah, okay.
I don't think so. We could get back Aparna Maggie ma'am. Aparna Maggie ma'am, are you connected? I don't.
She was there in the beginning. I
Yes,
could
she
see
was
her.
there.
Yeah.
She was there, and I think somewhere network issue we are finding we are unable to connect. Anyway, I think the point which is left out is the promoting education of arts, sports, and other things. That I will certainly request Professor Sharma to add to it. And very rightly, Pramodji said from Bharat centric to global centric and from the Vishwa Guru. That's a fantastic statement. I think that is the last takeaway from all of you, that it should be a Vishwa Guru. Sir, we had a lot of very specific four educators they discussed today, and we could not get to know more about how promotion of education can take place through arts, sports, and other areas, which is very much necessary as far as national education policy says. We would like to hear from this topic, as well as we want that you to summarize and today's output, today's learning outcome from all the topics. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Priyadarshi ji. And I must say, I'm on slippery ground now, having heard all the four very pertinent presentations. I cannot admire Preeti ma'am more. Having heard her yesterday, today again, Ravya ma'am, and also Pramod sir, definitely Khanna ji as well. But I think education of arts and other areas, that has been included in a big way. That was an area where we were also very uncomfortable, because these are areas where you do not have many students, and schools most of the times do not want a full-time teacher or the whole infrastructure. So the whole concept of a school complex and collaboration came from there, so that sharing can be done. I think in one of the sessions that we are going to have, perhaps we can, if we can have ma'am again, perhaps let her speak on that. Yes. But then what I would say as concluding remarks is, look, you have no option. If you really want to make your schools vibrant centers of learning, you will have to give them autonomy. And I believe it was mentioned, someone has built a building, created an infrastructure. That doesn't mean one would rule. If you keep doing that, you are doing it at the cost of the school and the nation. The head of the institution has to be the person deciding on things, the principal, the school leader. And this is not a favor to anyone. Look at the Radhakrishnan Commission. What did it say? It said a university will be of the size of 3,000 students. Most of our schools are more than 3,000 students today. So a vice chancellor who has all the autonomy is not given to the school principal. There I see the importance of a school education commission. Very pertinently spoken, I must mention this. 31st December, the Minister for Education announces the date for secondary and senior secondary exams. I remember I spoke about it on the Gurgaon convention of our CED. This was the job of the controller of exams, CBSE. The minister announced the date. On 16th of April, the Prime Minister comes and postpones the exam. And on that day, I had said, it's demeaning the office of Prime Minister. Thank God, this time the Prime Minister didn't come. And very pertinently mentioned by Pramod sir, the defense minister chairs the meeting. Education minister is only a member. Two of the former ministers have been called to advise him and help him. How are we running education? How are we running education? Who decides? I have said on n number of times, on n number of occasions, leave it to the principals. I'm happy some of the DCs and some of the ministers and government officials have started saying that let the principals decide. It's not, again, I will say, it's not giving favor to the principal. They understand the school, and we must mention it again and again. Give autonomy to the school leader. And that is what I want to emphasize through the School Education Commission, those who understand. But Preeti ma'am, I would like to mention one thing. You mentioned about documenting. Is very, very important. I wonder if you were here during the last sessions. We lack in that. Institutional memory is very, very important. And we had a great tradition. All our Vedas, the Vedants, the Purans, our testimony, एक चीज को हम बड़े meticulously record करके रखे हैं. हम नहीं होंगे, आप नहीं होंगी, लेकिन हमारे एक्सपीरियंसेस जो रिकॉर्ड किए जाएंगे वो रखे जाएंगे, और आने वाले प्रिंसिपल्स पढ़ेंगे और कहेंगे ये काम करता है और ये काम नहीं करता है. This works, this doesn't work. So I know, I mean, I said on the last occasion, our school leaders are reluctant to record, to write, to publish. Please publish your experience, and that is where I am very jealous of school principals. I wish to be principal to study every child, how he or she reacts, and how one learns. That becomes a testament for my successors. That is very, very important. So let us start doing that. Let us, I had started a project of principals speak. I got views of some, but it was not so well recorded that I could go ahead with that project. I would still like to go ahead. Technology cannot be panacea. It's a double-edged sword. I don't have much time, but I would definitely mention one thing very quickly. One is, all students do not have access to good technology or the latest technology. The second is, in the times to come, the best teachers would be available on the latest technologies, don't forget, and that would be very, very expensive. In the US, the European countries, the best teachers teach only on the fastest technology, which is very, very expensive. You have to pay through your nose. So you are doubly divided or doubly displaced. One is you don't have access to the technology, and if you don't have access to the technology, you also don't have access to the best teachers. The best of the speakers from here, Preeti ma'am, Rabia ma'am, Mahajan sir, will not be teaching on radio. They will be charging millions of rupees for a lecture on television. So who will be able to hear them? Only those who can pay. So don't always plead for the latest technology. Let us have the most appropriate technology which can reach all. We are a country of diverse population. Think about technology very, very carefully. And that is why, again, I will come back to that issue of government or public-private partnership. See, there is a general belief that government schools are very rich, and they definitely have very qualified teachers. But I can see Preeti ma'am, she mentioned she is a product of Navodaya Kendriya Vidyalaya, and perhaps her parents were teachers, and so is Abha ma'am's parents. They were teachers, and that is why you are here, ma'am. आपके पेरेंट्स टीचर्स थे, इतने अच्छे स्कूल में थे, तभी आप यहां पहुंची हैं. लेकिन वहां के टीचर्स और प्राइवेट के टीचर्स के मेहनत का अंतर देखिए. केंद्रीय विद्यालय, नवोदय विद्यालय को केवल मत बोलिए. मैं कई बार कहता हूं, मैंने रिव्यू किया है, मैंने स्टडी किया है, मैंने इसका ट्रेनिंग कराया है. दोनों सिस्टम्स का, केंद्रीय विद्यालय, नवोदय विद्यालय का, बहुत ही एक्सप्लॉइटेटिव सिस्टम है. सुबह 5 बजे के नवोदय विद्यालय का टीचर जगता है और 11 बजे रात को जब सोने जाता है, उसके पहले वो सभी बच्चों को सुला के जाता है. ये नहीं होना है. ये काम टीचर का नहीं है. तो आपने इतना उस दोनों को, नवोदय विद्यालय केंद्रीय विद्यालय को हम एग्जाम्पल्स ना बनाए, वो बहुत एक्सप्लॉइटेटिव है। लेकिन बाकी प्राइवेट में क्या हो रहा है, तो मेरा ये कहना है कि इस इशू को हम लोग और आगे स्टडी करें। पॉलिसी ने रास्ता खोल दिया है इसका। SSSA जिसकी बात महाजन साहब कर रहे हैं बारी बारी से, वो स्कूल एजुकेशन कमीशन इसलिए ताकि आप वहां बैठ सकें और आप तय करें। आप ही प्रैक्टिशनर हैं, आप जानते हैं कि स्कूल क्या है, आप ही को तय करना चाहिए, डिफेंस मिनिस्टर को नहीं। हमने उस दिन कहा था, जिस दिन प्राइम मिनिस्टर आए थे टेलीविजन पर, हम एक डिस्कशन में थे, हम कहे कि दिस इज डिमीनिंग प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स ऑफिस, एंड आई एम वेरी हैप्पी द मीटिंग दैट टुक प्लेस यस्टरडे, द PM was not brought into the picture. What is Sayyam Bhardwaj doing in CBSE? If he can decide on dates of exam, and if he cannot hold exams, then what is he doing? I think हम लोगों को इन सबका समग्र एक व्यू लेना चाहिए कि स्कूल 33 करोड़ बच्चों को आज हैंडल कर रहा है या सर्व कर रहा है। आने वाले समय में यह संख्या बढ़ेगी, कौन तय करेगा? बहुत बहुत आपका आभार और आपको बधाई प्रियदर्शी जी कि आप लगातार ये डिस्कशन करा रहे हैं, और जितना बढ़िया आप इंट्रोडक्शन दे रहे हैं और जितने बढ़िया आपने प्लेस किया अभी पूरे के पूरे पर्सपेक्टिव को, आई मीन आई मस्ट से आई एम वेरी वेरी इम्प्रेस्ड। आपका बिल्कुल विजन क्लियर है, आप समझ रहे हैं क्या करना है। तो आपका आभार, आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई, धन्यवाद, और सबों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। कल फिर हम मिलेंगे, फिर ऐसी बात होगी, और हम सबका एक ही ध्येय होना चाहिए कि जिन बच्चों को सर्व करने के लिए हमने ये प्रोफेशन चुना है, उसके लिए जो भी करना हो, जो भी बोलना हो वो बोलेंगे। क्योंकि मैं बात यहां खत्म करूंगा, सचिव वैद्य गुरु तीन जो बोले ही प्रिय भयास। हमारा काम ही है कड़वा बोलना, क्योंकि जब हम कड़वा बोलते हैं तब चीजें ठीक होती हैं। बच्चे के पेरेंट्स को कहना पड़ता है कि देखिए आपका बच्चा इसके लायक नहीं है, सरकार को कहना पड़ता है आपका ये काम नहीं, आप समझ नहीं रहे हैं। कल एक न्यूज़ 24 पर डिस्कशन हो रहा था, 5 लोग बैठे थे, और बाद में वो जानते हैं मुझे एंकर जी, उनको मैंने मैसेज किया कि 5 ब्लाइंड मैन डिस्कसिंग एजुकेशन, प्लीज डोंट डू दैट। आपको पता ही नहीं असेसमेंट क्या है, आप डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, आप हमको बता रहे हैं, पूरे देश को आप बता दे रहे हैं कि ऐसे कर लो। तो ये कहते रहना पड़ेगा। तो पुनः एक बार बधाई, आभार, धन्यवाद, और आप सबको
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर।
शुभकामनाएं। Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. I think the vision what Professor Sharma is having as an educationist is tremendous. Today is a learning outcome of all is the school leaders should get an autonomy. That is, we should give autonomy to school leaders. That is a must. And school regulatory commission is a must. You know, definition of a school leader, कहीं पर मुझे अभी याद आ रहा है प्रोफेसर शर्मा वहां पे लिखे थे, we are all visionary and we should shout against this babugiri. Take the initiative. We all should take the initiative and think of nothing but the future of our children. That is the only work of us. So let us all together, it is not a single man's vision, Professor Sharma sir or Pramod Mahajan या कोई ऐसे कोई नहीं कर सकते. Let us all together demand. There should be a demand of creation of this autonomous statutory regulatory school education commission through the Act of Parliament in India. It should go to the ears of Honorable Prime Minister of India that yes, this is required. If this mandatory mission should not happen, then I think the same way the Minister of Culture will come to declare the result of the CBSE board next time. So extremely sorry to say all these things, but we all educators need to understand the present situation and scenario. Hopefully, we had a wonderful discussion. I must thank today Professor C.B. Sharma sir for the outstanding views, vision, input altogether, and Amul sir fantastically co-chaired all the sessions. I must say deep regards to Preeti Ojha ma'am for her outstanding vision, outstanding inputs. Same with Rubia Bhatia ma'am, Jitesh Khanna sir, as well as my friend, Dr. Pramod Mahajan. Those who are listening, those who have been a part of this topic, I think this topic will continue for another 4 days. Friends, tomorrow we are meeting with examination and assessment reforms. So tomorrow again, see you at 3:45 p.m. तब तक के लिए हमें आज्ञा दीजिए। नमस्कार सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत आभार सबको।
Thank you,
नमस्कार।
sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.